Okay, welcome everyone. Good Erev Shabbos. As we are sponsored by A.B. Spry for Nachas from Children and Grandchildren, Yaakov Yemansky, Akas Atayv to the Zoom family and the Rav, and Nachas from Children and Grandchildren by Ed Saleh, by Joshua Rosenberg, by Baruch Ion, Lili Nishmas, Yaakov Chaim ben Abba, Esther Bas Gittel, Avram ben Shmuel HaKayin, and by A.B. Spry, by Shalom Spogel, Lili Nishmas, Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Sivya Miriam Bas Gad, and Yosef ben Sion ben Yaakov Zev. Then the Neshama should have an Aliyah. As we start this daf, we welcome in Mo Kushner, Mark Frankel, Dalia Engel, who's Baruch Hashem doing much better, and we welcome in Saba and Berish Geseman. We welcome in Yitzi Fuchs, Ben Zion Cohn, Baruch Ian, Irving Fishbaum, Stephen Holtzman, Rabbi Kranz, Marshall Castle, and who is that? Not sure who that is. Shalom Fogel, Nachman Chapler, Yitzi Muller, Avram Rezepkowitz, Ilya Shutman. Here in Shul, we have the pleasure of having Rich Kramer, Chaim Kramer, and Michal Avram, and Ruvain Shanit. I think Rich Lenner is on deadline for corporate taxes. David Helfgott has just joined us, and Cole Loshin, and Shelley Zeitlin has just come on. We are holding two lines from the bottom. Mark will not be upset that we saved him a little bit of Agarata. So it says, Vaniram, which the Gemara is talking about, it just talked about as somebody who is arrogant, tends to fall into Gehenna because he knows better and he doesn't listen to anybody. Vaniram, a offshoot of his arrogance, is Amar Rasha, the wicked person says, Ein Ram, there is no one up high, and he commits heresy. Avad Cheshbon, he says that there is no accounting. Avad Cheshbon Shalaylam, he says that the accounting perished. There is no din v'cheshbon. Ad divine, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, hamtin ad sheyavoy din. Ad divine is ad bodin. Wait until the reckoning comes. And the pasuk says, Vanashim ad noifach, there will become ad shetavoy eish she'eina tzricha nifuach. Wait till the fire of Gehenna comes that is so furious that it doesn't need any fanning. Ad meidva, the pasuk says, ad meidva means ad shetadiv nishmasan, until their souls have a lot of suffering, have a lot of anguish. V'imrei la, tadiv means ad ovid mai debai, until the Rabbeinu Shalom does what he needs to do. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, as we welcome him, Avram Shenkman. We are on 79a, 4 lines from the top. 79a, 4 lines from the top. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh b'dvaro. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Baruch Hashem, we are not in this category, but Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rav, Kol haporesh midivrei Torah, whoever separates himself from the learning of Torah, the fate is eish achlasai, will be consumed by fire. In other words, the fires of Gehenna will eat away on a person who separates himself from the learning of Torah. You see, Torah is fire. Halo kol devarai ke'esh nu'um Hashem. My words are like fire. The reason why Torah is compared to fire is threefold. First of all, it warms a person. It gives a person warmth. People know that Gedolei Yisrael, they have such a natural warmth to them. Rav Moshe was the warmest of all people. He never shook your hand. He took both your hands, he took your hand in both his hands and gave it a hug. That's how Rav Moshe shook your hand. He was warm. The Torah also illuminates the way. It makes the proper way to live clear. It crystallizes and illuminates the way. And that way it's also like fire. It's also like fire because it pushes away the fire of the Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara is compared to fire. It pushes away the fire of the Yetzer Hara. So the Gemara says that kol ha-poresh midivrei Torah, if somebody separates himself from Torah, then eish oichlosoi, fire will consume him. Shenemar, v'nosati es ponai mehem, I will set my face against them. Meha eish yotzu, they went out from fire, they left the fire of Torah, and therefore v'eish toichlem, they will be consumed by fire. Ki yasser Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi arrived, Amar Rav Yochanan, kol ha-porish atzmai midivrei Torah, whoever separates from Torah, noifel beganim, will fall into Gehenim. Shenemar, if I remember, I told you in the Hakdama to Medrash Talpiyos, it says that people that learn regularly Mishnayos every day, Asher stands, Asher, one of the sons of Yaakov, Asher stands by the doors of Gehenim and doesn't let them in. And we learn that out from the fact that it says in the pasuk, "May Asher Shmeina Lachmai." So Shmeina is Isius Mishnah. Asher is going to defend those that learn Mishnah. But if a person separates himself from Divrei Torah, Neifel began him. He'll fall into hell. Shenamar Adam Toya. Mederach Haskel, a person that strays from the way of intelligence, B'kahal Refaim Yanuach, he will dwell in the congregation of Refaim. The Ein Refaim Ele Gehenim. Refaim refers to Gehenim. Shenema v'lo yoda ki Refaim sham. They didn't realize that Refaim sham, that hell was there. Be'imkei shal, at the very depths of the netherworld, Akru Eha, are those that were invited to her. It's not a good thing to get an invitation to Gehenna. Now, the Mishnah says, we had to leave marks some agarata. Now, that's why he said yesterday, it's only agarata, I can miss it. But, Mark, I'm sure you're going to make it up, right? Yeah.
I did, Rabbi.
Oh, you did already.
I heard you announce Moshe Shabbos time last night.
Yeah, 9:30 last night, right. That's because I get a mazel tov. My baby daughter had a boy.
Mazel tov, Rabbi.
Thank you. Yocheved had a boy.
Mazel tov. That's lovely.
Now, so the Mishnah says that Mocher Ashpa, when Mark sells a dump to Marshall, Mocher Zivla, he sells with it its manure. When he sells a dovecote, he sells with it the doves. When he sells a pit, he sells with it its water. Tanan Hasam. Now here, before I learn this, let me give you a brief preface. There's Kedushas Mizbeach. That's the highest level of Kedusha, that which has Kedushas Haguf, intrinsic holiness, when you dedicate something to the altar. Dedicating something to the altar is like dedicating an animal to the altar, a bird offering to the altar, maybe flour for a meal offering, maybe wine for a libation. That's called Kedushas Mizbeach. Then there's Kedushas Bedekabayis, which is temple maintenance, like dedicating racks or wood for structural repair in the Beis Hamikdash, or perhaps precious materials for the clay shoras, for the ministering vessels, or perhaps a gem for one of the big day kahuna. That's Bedek Habayis. That's temple maintenance. Then there's something that's not Kedushas Mizbeach, it's not Kedushas Bedek Habayis. You dedicate it to the temple, like, let's say you dedicate manure to the temple. So then they say it, and they sell it, and they use the proceeds for the temple. Any one of these three levels, if somebody dastardly... who's in the middle of all the boxes over here? Oh, Marshall. Somebody dastardly like Marshall, if he trespasses it, he commits me'ilah. Me'ilah means that he would have to pay the principal, add a fifth, and bring an osham me'ilah. In other words, we throw the book at him. Now, he acts like a ham. Now, so Tanan Hasam, we learned over there, Kol haroy lemizbeach, anything that's fit for the mizbeach, like an animal, v'loy lebedek habayis, not for temple maintenance, or lebedek habayis, like some building material, v'loy lemizbeach, not for the altar, v'loy lemizbeach, v'loy lebedek habayis, manure, or well water, which is neither for the mizbeach nor bedek habayis, moilin behem, you're moil in them, ubameshe b'seichen, and what is inside of them. Ketzad, Hikdish bar malaya mayim, if let's say Mark is makdish a pit full of water, ashbois malayas zevel, a dump full of manure, shayvech malayainim, a dovecote full of doves, sada malaya asavim, a field full of grass, ilan naisui peris, a tree filled with fruit, mayil in bahem, you're mayil in them, or bamesha b'seichen. Now, Taisus over here talks in great length how you could be moyel in a field. Some karka, it says, ein mila b'karkois. So how is it possible for you to be moyel in the something that's attached to the ground? So Taisus says that if you uproot it from the ground, then you would commit me'ilah. However, aval hikdish bar v'acher kach nismali mayim, if Mark was makdish a pit, and then afterwards it filled with water, ashpa, a dump, v'achakach nismala zevel, and then it got filled with dung, shayvech, a dovecote, v'achakach nismala yoinim, or ilan, a tree, v'achakach nosa peris, and afterwards it bore fruit, sodeh, a field, v'achakach nismala asavim, Moilin behem, you're moil with what he dedicated. Ve'ain moilin b'meshe b'seichen. You're not moil what's inside the pit, what's inside the dovecote, what's grows from the field, what grows from the tree. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Now, there's multiple reasons for Rabbi Yehuda. This is a very fundamental Gemara. There's multiple reasons for Rabbi Yehuda. The reason why he holds that if he's makdish a pit, and then subsequently it got full with water, you're not moil with the water, because there's no way for that water to go into the Rishos of Hekdesh. Mark was not makdish the water, and there is no kinyan chotzer by Hekdesh. That's the big chiddush over here. Normally, if you have a pit, if water goes into your pit, you acquire the water because it comes into your courtyard. But Hekdesh doesn't have a kinyan chotzer. So therefore, if Mark was only makdish the pit, then the water is in Hekdesh, because the fact that it came into the pit afterwards doesn't mean it goes into the Rishos of Hekdesh. The same thing is true with the doves and the dovecote. But what about the fruit that grew out of the tree? What about the grass that grew from the field? Why don't we say Gidule Hektish Hektish? So here, Rabbi Yehuda has a very interesting opinion. Rabbi Yehuda says that the only time there's Me'ilah is something that came about from human dedication. What grows out of Hektish and what grows out of the ground that Mark was Makdish, those items were not sanctified by a human declaration. And therefore, that's why there's no Me'ilah. So it's a very, very interesting reason. Comes along Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says no. On this we say Gidule Hektish Hektish. Rabbi Yossi, I'm a Makdish as a Sod as a Elon. If you Makdish a field, if Mark is Makdish a field and it grows grass, a tree and it grows fruit, he holds that there is Me'ilah and what grows from it. And Gidule Hektish is Kehektish. Now,
The other ones, right?
huh?
Not the ones with the water or the...
That's the pashtus. The Gemara is going to talk about that in a moment extensively. Tanya, Amar Rebbe. Rebbe says, Nirin Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, it would appear to me to be logical, the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that the contents don't become hektish, bebar v'shoivech. V'divrei Rabbi Yossi, and the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, b'sadei Elon, b'sad of Elon, that by the sada what grows from it, and the tree that from what grows to it, does have a din of me'ilah. So the Gemara says, Hi Mai, how do we understand it? And if you noticed, Rabbi Kranz was stoking the fire a little bit from beforehand. Hi Mai, what's the situation? Bishloima nirin divrei Rabbi Yehuda bebar v'shoivech. He agrees with Rabbi Yehuda by bar and shoivech that the contents is not Me'ilah. Michlal the polig asad of Elam. He only agrees with Rabbi Yehuda by bar and shoivech. But that implies that Rabbi Yehuda argues even on Sad and Elon. He holds that by Sad and Elon, like we explained, the growth is also not Me'ilah, because we said that since the growth was not created by a human declaration, there's no Me'ilah. When he says it would appear to me the opinion of Rabbi Yossi by Sad and Elon, does that mean Rabbi Yossi argues also by bar v'shoivech? Mechlal the polik b'bar v'shoivech, that Rabbi Yossi argues by the bar and the shoivech, that the water in the bar that comes later on and the dove in the shoivech that comes later on is holy? But Rabbi Yossi only says his din by Gedulei Hektish. But Rabbi Yossi stay v'ilan kamer. Says the Gemara, v'chi tema l'dvarav de Rabbi Yehuda kamar. Maybe he's just saying the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. That Rebbe is saying that the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda is only that it's not hektish by bar and shoivech, but not by Elon and Sada. But that's not true. Rabbi Yehuda holds his opinion by Elon and Sada also that the contents is not Me'ilah. Vatanya Amar Rabbi Yossi, Ein ani roya divrei shel Rabbi Yehuda b'Sada v'Elon. I don't hold of Rabbi Yehuda by Sada and Elon, mipnei shein gedulei hektish. So b'Sada v'Elon Huda ein a roya. He doesn't hold of Rabbi Yehuda by Sada and Elon, but b'bar v'shoivech roya. So the bottom line is, you can't say that according to Rabbi Yehuda, he only says his opinion by bar and shoivech. You can't say that. 1 second. No, I translated this wrong. I thought so. Start again from 3 lines from the beginning of the wide lines. So I almost, it's not a good thing. Not a good thing. Marsha will put an asterisk on this share and say, send Rabbi Weiss back to school. V'chi tema, says the Gemara, V'chi tema, l'devar of Rabbi Yehuda Kamer. Maybe Rabbi Yossi is arguing and saying that the contents of the bar and the shayvech is also has me'ilah. And he was just saying that Rabbi Yehuda at least agree with me by Elon and Sada. He's only saying according to Rabbi Yehuda. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda, at least you should admit with me that the peiros and the grass that grow should be mila. But I myself hold that even the water that comes into the bar and the doves that come into the shayuch, there is also mila. And then it would be true what Rabbi is saying, that I agree with Rabbi Yossi only by Sada and Elon, because Rabbi Yossi argues even by bar and shayuch too, but that can't be. V'tanya am Rabbi Yossi ein ani roya divrei shel Rabbi Yehuda b'stei v'Elon. I don't agree with Rabbi Yehuda by stei v'Elon. Mipnei she'en gedulei hektish, because they're gedulei hektish. But I only don't agree with him in that case. But I do agree with Rabbi Yehuda by bar and shayvech that the water that comes in later and the doves that come in later are not hektish. So the Gemara says, no, I'll tell you what Rabbi means. Rabbi is just clarifying the opinion. The opinion of Rabbi Yossi and saying what Rabbi Yehuda meant. Hachi kamer. Nirin divrei Rabbi Yehuda le Rabbi Yossi. It is acceptable, the words of Rabbi Yehuda to Rabbi Yossi, that the water that comes in later into the bar and the doves that come later into the dovecote, there's no me'ilah. Why? She'af Rabbi Yossi, because even Rabbi Yossi lo nechlek alav only argues on Rabbi Yehuda el b'sad of Elon because of gedulei hektish kehektish. But the water that comes into the well later and the doves that come into the dove's coat later, moidele, that there's no me'ilah. And at this point, we're going to learn, like I explained, because there is no kinyan chotzer by hektish. So therefore, water that comes into the pit, even though Mark dedicated the pit to hektish, the water that comes in afterwards, the doves that go into the dovecote, there's no reason that they should be considered hektish, that there should be a chi of me'ilah. Tan Rabbanan. As we welcome in Elliot. Elliot, how did everything go today? You have to unmute, yeah. You're good.
The mammogram was negative.
Oh, that's what we want to hear. That's what we want to hear. Okay.
I'm dealing with, I need philos because I'm dealing with
No, you should have extensive gesund. Be'ezus Hashem.
Thank you.
6 lines from the bottom of Ayin Tes Amud Aleph. Tan Rabbana. Hikdishon Reikonin. Let's go back to Mark. He was makdish the bar when it was empty, or the dovecote when it was empty. Va'achakach nismalu, and then afterwards it got filled. Moyel in bahem, you moyel in the dovecote and in the pit. Ve'ein moyel in b'meshe b'seichem, but not what's inside it. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon says, "Af moyelin b'meshe b'seichem." Ooh, you moyel with the water inside and the doves inside. Now, how could that be? Amar Rabba, machloikis b'sadav ilan. Rabba says no. The machloikis is only by the field that grew grass and the tree that grew fruit. The Tanakh Maslav like Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanakh holds like Rabbi Yehuda that we don't say that Gidulei Hektish Kehektish because there's no Me'ilah from that which grows because that wasn't introduced through a human declaration. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Savalak Rabbi Yosef. Aval Babar V'Shayvech, but the pit and the dovecote, Divrei Hakol, Moyel and Behen, you're Moyel with the that which Mark dedicated, but ve'ein moyelin b'meshe b'seichem. But you're not moyel with what's inside, because, as we said, there's no kinyan chotzer by hektish.
Didn't we see Rabbi Yossi agrees that there's no kinyan? Why is he doesn't?
What?
Didn't we say we didn't finalize that Rabbi Yossi holds his no meila by what's inside, like by if it's not gedulei karka or anything like that.
No, that's what it says over here.
Yeah, but it was saying Rabbi Lazar Shimon says holds like Rabbi Yossi.
Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Savlak, Rabbi Yossi, that Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon holds like Rabbi Yossi that the Tanakh Savlak, Rabbi Yehuda that the growth is no me'ilah. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Savalak, Rabbi Yossi, that by Sod of Ilan, there is Meila.
Oh, but not by bar.
Look what it says, Avol. Read the Gemara. Avol bebar v'shayvech, divrei hakol, moyelin b'hen, ve'ein moyelin b'meshe b'seichem. Right? Because
before that it says, malu, moyelin b'hen. Well, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, af moyelin b'meshe b'seichem. A second ago, a line before that. He says, Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon says, Af Mo'alim b'Mashe b'Socha.
no, that's not Rabbah.
We're saying the Brisa. Right?
Okay, again, we'll start again. Tan Rabbanan. Hikdishan reikonim, if you makdish it empty, v'achkach nismalu, and then it gets filled up with water, moyel and behen, you're moyel with the bar and the shayvech, v'ein moyel and b'meshe b'seichem. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Aimer, af moyel and b'meshe b'seichem. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon says that you're moyel. Now, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon over here is not Rabbi Yossi. This is Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon himself. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Aimer, moyelin b'meshe b'seichem. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon holds that you're moyel even with what's inside them. I'm a rabbi, so what is that referring to? Because when it says filled, it could refer to a bar v'shayvech, it could also refer to a empty tree or an empty field. So I'm a rabbi, machloikis b'stei v'ila. When it says v'nismalu, this machlokes between the Tanakama, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon is only by a sada and a field. Right? And it doesn't say anywhere beforehand what it means when it's reikonim v'nismalu. So now we're clarifying. Do you hear me?
Yes, I had assumed that Smalu is something other than growing. It's hektish, like.
Well, then when the Gemara is saying Bameh Devar Mamurim, it assumes differently than you. Okay, so Amar Rabba, Machloikis Besad of Elam. This Machloikis is only by a field that gets filled up and a tree that gets filled up. The Tanakama Savalok Rabbi Yehuda that we don't say Gedulei Hektish Kehektish because the Gedulin weren't made by human declaration. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon Savalok Rabbi Yosi. Aval Babar v'Shavech, but a bar and a Shavech that gets filled up. Divra Kol Moyelin B'hem, you're only moyel with them. They ain't moyelin b'Meshe B'Seich. Says the Gemara, to complicate the matters, Amali Abaya v'Helahad Disanya Hiktish Malayan Moyelin B'hen u'B'Meshe B'Seichan. If you makdish it, you're moyel in it and what's inside it. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon Machlif, and Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon switches it, and he says that if here it's talking about the Pashita case where Mark is makdish it full, right? He's makdish it full. So the Sani Hikdish Malayan Moyelim Behenu B'Meshe B'Seichen, while Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon Machlif, Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon switches it and says that even where you're Hikdish it full, the contents is not Mila. How could that be? If Rabbi Lazar Rabbi Shimon says earlier that even if the contents comes afterwards, there's Mila, how could it be that where Mark is makdish with the contents, there's no Mila? The Ibis stay, the Elon, if it's a field and a tree, a my machlif. So says now the Gemara, a whole new pshat. El Amar Rabba Machloikis Bebar V'Shavech. The Machloikis is where Mark dedicated a pit or a dovecote. And then it got full. So Rabbi Yehuda says the water and the doves do not become holy, and Rabbi Meir says that, and Rabbi Yosi says they do. Aval b'sada v'ilan, but by a tree and a field, divrei akol moyelin behenu b'meshe b'seichen. Everybody holds your moyel in it and in the growth. Now the Gemara is saying that everybody holds that Gedulei Hektish is Hektish. And the Machlokes is only where you're Makdish a bar and the water comes in afterwards, the dovecote and the doves come in afterwards, and there is even an opinion, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, and even if you Makdish the bar with the water and the dove with the dovecote, the dovecote with the doves, that they don't become holy even then. So there's a machlokes ubabar b'shayvech b'reikonim b'may pligi. So what's the argument where Mark is makdish the bar and the dovecote, and then afterwards the birds and the water come in? Ubamalayim b'may pligi, and we see that there's even an argument if he's makdish them full, if the contents become holy. So the Gemara says, I'll explain. Berei konim, when the bar and the dovecote is empty, and Mark is makdish it, and then it gets filled with water, it gets filled with doves, you know what Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Yosi are arguing about? Pligi beplukta de Ramei Rabbanan. And that is, there's a shaila if other makna davishaloi balaylam. Could you do a chalais, something that didn't come in the world yet? So here, when Mark is makdish the empty bar and the empty dovecote, and he has in mind that the future content should also be hektish. But they didn't come into the world yet. So the Tanakama Savala Karabon and Dimrei Ainad the Makna Davishalai Balaila. And therefore the water that comes afterwards and the doves that come afterwards don't become sanctified. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Sabak Rab Meir, the Makna Davishalai Balaila. Right? The problem is, the case where I could sell you something that didn't come in the world yet is I could sell you a date palm. I could sell you the dates of a date palm that didn't grow yet. Why? Because they're going to grow. And therefore, since they're going to grow, so I could sell you even before they grow. But here, how do you know doves are going to come into the dovecote? How do you know water is going to come into this well? So the Gemara says, "Ema the shamas later Rameir kigaim peris dekel the avidas the dates of the palm are going to grow. Hani mi yemer the asu." Here it's talking about in the dry summer where there's no water, there's no rain. Who says water is going to come into the well? Who says that doves are going to come into the dovecote? So Amarava, the case is Mishkachas lo b'mayim abon derech hatzeirai, where Mark has his courtyard pitched, that river water comes into the well. And v'yoinim abon derech shayvcha l'shayvech, and he has other dovecotes that feed this dovecote. So then, that's why, according to him, you could be makdish a dove shalai bala'ila, and therefore he holds that you could be makdish the doves that will come into the dovecote and the water that will come into the well. Ubal malayim b'may pligi, where Mark is makdish the well filled with water and the dovecote filled with doves. So he said that Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon says, still, the doves don't become Kaddish and the water doesn't become Kaddish. For what reason? The water is in the well and the doves are in the dovecote. It's talking about what Mark said this pit should be Kaddish. And the question is the water included in the statement of the pit? He says the dovecote becomes Kaddish. The question is, are the doves included? Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, Savala Kavua. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon holds like his father, Rabbi Shimon. That we learn out the laws of Hektish from the laws of regular human business. Ma din hedyet matzi amar. Mark could say, if he sold to Marshall a pit, even though it had water in it, matzi amar birei zvinalach, I just sold you the pit, ma'ayaloi zvinalach, I didn't sell you the drinking water. I sold you the dove coat, I didn't sell you the doves. So af din gevaya, so also by Hektish, Mark could say, bira aktish, I dedicated the well, maya loy aktish. Says the Gemara, wait a second. The Tanakama Savar ain't done in din gevaya, but didn't had you. The Tanakama says we don't learn out Hektish. By Hektish, people are more, they're more benevolent. Says the Gemara, but didn't had you light? When you sell a bar, you don't sell the water? Vatanan machar bar machar meimav, that when you sell a well, you sell with it the water. Amarava masnisi yechidai. That Mishnah is only an individual opinion. The Tanya machar bar loy machar meimav. When you sell a well, you don't sell with it the water. That's the opinion of the Chachamim. Rab Nasan says machar bar. The opinion of Mishnah is a shitas yachid of Rab Nasan. Rab Nasan amar machar bar. When you sell a well, machar meimav, you sell with it the water. Now, Rabbi say we have daf tomorrow. Matzah Shabbos 10 minutes later at 9:30. 9:30 because I'm coming back from Shalom Zachar. I want to make sure I get time to come back and reset up and everything, not to keep you waiting. Now, Rabbi say I did the Mishnah Yomis already. because now we're going to do for the Shabbos table.